We've got Just Khan and Singh here now too. Great. Nice.
Yeah.
All right, guys and ladies, we'll be starting in 3 minutes.
Recording.
All right, guys, I'm just marshaling up our first activity here. Hope everybody's doing well. And we're going to get started soon. All right, guys, let's get started now. My name is Peter Sigurdsson, and I'm going to be your instructor here in our course on developing websites with PHP. And I'm going to give some introduction in a couple of minutes to talk about the overview of our website or of our course, so we know what it is we're going to do. But just as a quick question here, have you guys had any previous training in developing websites, HTML, JavaScript, anything like that? Or is this kind of your first exposure to this stuff? You can either type in the chat box or you can just talk on the mic. I just sort of like to get a little bit of a sense of where we're starting from. It's okay, you can talk. Nobody will get mad at you. Is my mic working?
HTML and bit Java last semester.
Sorry, say that again louder.
So we have Java and HTML did in last semester.
You've had a little bit. You have a basic sense of it. Okay, that's good.
Yes, sir.
Any JavaScript? Have you had some training in JavaScript or CSS?
No, sir.
All right, doesn't matter. We're going to cover that. All right, so to begin with, just to take a little bit of an attendance and also so I can see what we're starting with, I'm going to give you a little quiz here. Now, these questions are quite similar to questions you will really get when you get your actual real test that does count for marks, but this test does not count for marks, so don't be worried or stressed about it. Just do your best. However, it does count for attendance, and attendance is very important. I have 30 people here, so I think I have most of us. So anyway, there is your link to the quiz in the chat box. Just click on it and go. I think I gave you like 6 or 7 minutes to do that. And then we will proceed to do our introduction to our course. And by the way, this is the test tool we will be using for the real quizzes and for the final exam. So, this is showing you the kinds of questions you're going to get and the format and also the test tool. So go and work on that now. I don't have anybody writing my quiz. Why is nobody writing my quiz? Write the quiz, hurry up. Ah, good. I have Jasanpreet Kaur there. Everybody else jump in and do it too. Wow, I'm up to 10 people, but where's everybody else?
So can you please resend it?
Not a problem. I'll kick it into the chat box again. Hang on. There you go. It's in the chat box. Go and click on it to get to work. Now, it's interesting that I have 39 participants in the meeting, but I only have 22 people writing the quiz. That tells me that 17 people logged into the meeting, they clicked the link, but then they crawled back into bed. That's kind of disappointing. I think I'm going to fail them because I'm mad at them.
These files is picture file.
Okay, got a couple of people who finished up. On Mole, wow, you did really well. On Deep, don't really pay too much attention to that number because most of those questions need to be manually graded anyway, so that number doesn't really mean very much. All right, we'll wait till the majority of class members are finished. And then we'll go through the questions together. Now, while you guys are getting finished up, one thing that I found works really well is to have a class journal so we can record, right? We can write down the things we do each week. And then when it's time for you guys to go and study for your quizzes and all that stuff, you can look at the journal and you can remember. So I'm going to set that up while you guys are finishing up your work over there. Oh, I see somebody is drawing on the screen. Well, that makes me happy because my children are now off to university, but small children, you know, they like to get crayons and draw on the wall and stuff. So now I can feel like I have some small children, even though my kids are now busily. Well, my daughter, Nikki, my older one, is heading off. She's at, oh my God, that's so pretty. Thank you. My older one is at Amherst doing her PhD in computer science. And my younger one is in Vancouver doing her law studying. That's okay. Just play with your coloring a little bit. We'll clean it up in a while. It's not going to hurt anything.
HTTP stateless protocol.
All right, let's see how you're making out with your quiz. All right, where are we? All right, I guess most people are finished, so let's just grab somebody's work here at random and go through it. And then we will talk about our course outline, and then we'll get to our first activity for the day, which is making a simple web page. For some of you, I think this will be quite simple and very elementary review, but I have to start somewhere. So where I always start this course is making a simple page and building up from there. All right, so let's go now. We're just going to grab somebody's work. Oh, just Karen, you did so good. You all did good, but just Karen did like 75%. Let's look at his work. So what's wrong with this file name? You should never, ever, you cannot have spaces in file names or directories. Now be very careful about that. Where's question 1? See, there's question 2. Where did question 1 go? I'm not seeing all the questions here. What the freak? I'm only seeing 3 questions. That's bizarre. Well, maybe you'll try something else. I'll look at somebody else's stuff. Okay, anyway. What is a web browser? A web browser, exactly as our classmate said, is a program that has an HTML rendering engine, so it can turn HTML tags into text with formatting and colors and different fonts and sizes, and it can render images and videos and maps and multimedia. And in addition to rendering HTML, guys, mute yourself locally. I'm going to mute everybody because it's distracting. However, if anybody wants to talk and ask a question by, verbally talking into their mic, I will let you unmute yourself. But meanwhile, if you're not wanting to share with class, and also this session is being recorded, right? So do not say anything that you don't want other people to hear later. Like, don't say mean things about your sister-in-law or something, because it might get back to her later, then it might make a fight in the family. So anyway, in addition to being a HTML rendering engine, shh, quiet. Okay, I'm going to mute you. I have all the power here. I'm in charge. I'm going to mute you. Watch. You think I can't do it? Here I go. But if you want to talk and ask something, just actually, why can't I mute you? What happened? Oh, participants, I guess. Yeah, if you want to ask a question, just drop into the chat comments and then I'll turn your mic back on. It's just it's distracting for everybody if we have unnecessary talking, right? All right, so we said here that a browser can also interpret JavaScript. So it has a JavaScript interpreter and it also has a CSS, cascading style sheet interpreter. And if you don't know what that stuff means, hang around with me in the next couple of weeks. You're going to learn it really well. All right, good answer there. By the way, these are real actual questions you will really get in your final exam, so pay attention to them. The content displayed in a web page lies between the following tags. Yes. So the entire HTML document lies between open and close HTML, but the content that user sees is in the body. And after this, we're going to go and write an HTML web page, and you're going to see that. But that is the correct answer. Yep. Select all the statements below which are true. Now, I asked you guys to install XAMPP, and I don't know if everybody did it. And if anybody has not yet installed XAMPP, we're going to start by doing that today because XAMPP is very powerful. XAMPP is basically a local browser. Excuse me. It's a server. It's an HTML web server, HTTP server that we run on our local computer for development. And then we can actually see our pages getting served up through a web server. Very powerful for development. So what statements are true about it? It provides a locally available HTTP server. Yay. It gives me an Apache web server to play with. And because Apache is the most popular web server in the world, right? Most of the companies out there are using it. Knowing how to use Apache is pretty powerful in terms of giving me good stuff to talk about at the job interview. The XAMPP environment includes a MySQL server. And here, because we're here learning how to use PHP code to design our web applications, that's pretty good because we are going to need a web server. We're going to need a SQL server for the database. My XAMPP Apache server is available to access only on my own computer. Other computers cannot get access to my server. And that is correct. I mean, in a sense, they could. On a real final exam, I would not give you that question because if I gave somebody else the IP address of my computer, then of course they could get into it in that case. But we're going to talk about networking in a few minutes. To display text on a new line, that's right, you could use the break line tag, yep. To change the background color of a page, because we want to do it at the page level, so we would go to our body tag, and tags have attributes such as color, so that would be correct there. Yep, we're going to see this in a few minutes. If you don't know what this means, we're going to actually do it together. A web server does which of the following activities? It listens on a port, whichever port we specify. In fact, we are going to have to set up our own Apache server in a couple of minutes to do that. And then a URL request comes in asking for a resource like a page on our server, and then our server serves it back out. That's why it's a server, because it does that. It serves up web pages from our file system. Yep. And D, the primary function of a web server is to store, process, and deliver web pages. The communication is HTTP. Yep. And C is wrong because of the word here. It's not capable of doing anything except static. One of the things we're going to see with PHP is we can actually write programs in the programming language of PHP, and we can dynamically generate HTML content by pulling things from a database, right? So static means it's a file and it never changes, but a database-driven web page is like what we do in PHP. We query data out of the database and we show it up to the web browser that comes into our server. So some of you might have used services such as Travelocity, right? You want to book a plane ticket to go somewhere. So you say which airport are you leaving from on which day, and which city are you going to on which day, and then it goes and queries the database and it generates that as HTML and shows it to you. So that is a dynamic database-driven web page, which we are going to do here. Which one of these files is a picture file? JPEG. The title tag displays a title on the top part of the page window. We'll see that in a couple of minutes. An HTML page starts with HTML. A website is a collection of web pages. HTTP is a programming language. And the correct answer is false. Now, a lot of people do think that HTML is a programming language, and the answer is no, it's not. It's a page description language. And if anybody wants to tell me that HTTP is a programming language, my answer is, well, first of all, here's a couple of things to think about. And let's go and start putting these in our journal, because that way you can go and read about them and review them later. First of all, so this is a possible test question, right? First of all, HTTP is Hypertext Transfer Protocol. It is a network protocol for delivering HTTP content. It's a networking protocol just like email is. So what you might have thought that this question was asking is HTML. Like maybe that's what your eyes sort of translated it. So the next question becomes, is HTML hypertext markup language? A programming language? And the answer is no. HTML is a page description language. It's not a programming language. And if you disagree with that, to prove this to yourself, try writing a for loop in HTML, right? You guys have taken Java, so you know what a for loop is. So if HTML is a programming language, then try writing a for loop in HTML and you'll not get too far. Okay, let's put a link to this in our Google Class, in our Google Classroom, so you can get to this later. All right, let's go to our next question. What is a web page? So ultimately, in the simple sense, it's a text file. I suppose these other answers could be correct, so I would not give you this question on a real test because it could be ambiguous. But ultimately, HTML, as we're going to see next, because we're going to go and write some HTML, is a text file. All right, let's carry on. What is the internet? It is a network of interconnected networks. We're going to talk about networking later on. Right, so here in our class journal, I'll keep a list of some topics we're going to be discussing over the next 14 weeks. So networking is one of them. What's wrong with this file's file name? We already saw that it has a space. HTTP is a stateless protocol. That means HTTP does not have a memory. And what some of the implications are of that in terms of forms and stuff we'll talk about later. To display the image file dog.gif, you would use the tag image, you would specify the source attribute, and you would point it to dog. And hopefully there would be a file called dog.gif in the local file system to work with that. All right, so anyway, that was our morning attendance quiz. So let's move on. Now, the next thing we'd like to do here is jump into it and start doing some actual work. So our next activity is to create a simple HTML page. So join me and do that now. So our process or our procedure of how to do this is we're going to use a simple text editor. Whoops, I have a chat comment coming in. Hey, Yadwinder Singh, what's up? Virtual high five, how are you? So our procedure here is we're going to use a text editor. You can use Notepad, you can use whatever you want to create a text file with some HTML code in it. Yeah, you can use Notepad++. I like to use Sublime myself. I think Sublime is great. But if you like to use TextPad or something, go for it. My personal favorite is Sublime, so I'll show you where to get that if you want it. It's pretty nice. But there's nothing special about it. If you like something else, go and get it. Can you please explain the question, my page dot, Sawita, okay, not a problem. Yep. I can't remember what that is, but I guess I can go and find it. Hang on. So can I explain the question, my page.html? Just a second. Okay, I have to turn off my screen sharing for a second because I can't remember my password. Just a second. I'll be back in a sec. Don't go away. Okay, just a second here. Hang on, guys. I have to do a couple of things. Okay, guys, I'll be back with you in a second. Hang on. I just have to get back into the test so I can see that question that we were asking about. Oh, and I have to go back to sharing my screen here. Hang on. Share screen. All right, now the question was, send the quiz link because it always stays there. This time you sent the link in the chat. I joined the class a few minutes late. Yeah, Winter's saying, here's the thing. This is an attendance quiz. That means I want to find out who's actually in the class. I don't want you to write it 5 days later when it suddenly occurs to you there's a quiz. That means I only want people who are actually in the class to write it. That's why we call it an attendance quiz. All right, guys, let's go back to the other question we got here. Oh, yes, the question about my page. All right, I'm not quite sure what that is, but I'm going to go and look for it. Just a second. I don't see that question. I'm not sure which question you mean. Can you please explain the question, my page.html? Can you tell me what that question was? Because I don't find it. My page.html. Oh, my webpage.html. You mean this one? The problem here was that there was a space in the file name. You can't have space in the file name. Is that what you mean? If there's something else you want to know, let me know, but I think that was it. All right, sweet, and not a problem. So now we're actually going to go right now. Our very next activity right at this minute is we're going to go and make a web page, and then we're going to make some mistakes on purpose to see what goes wrong with it, and then maybe that'll clarify it. All right, so let's go back to here. I'm going to put class marker away for right now and put that away. Oh, actually, I was going to show you about Sublime. That's right. So download Sublime, something like, yeah, yeah. So if you want Sublime, which you're going to be seeing me using, get it from here. If you want TextPad or text editor or Notepad++, I don't know, there's like 50,000 text editors out there for free. They're all great. So just go and get one that you like. Right, so now we were talking about our procedure for our first class activity is to create a simple HTML file. So how do we do that? Well, first you get some text editor and then you make a new file. And save it. So let's just do that much for right now. Now, another thing I'm going to do is make a recording, even though I think this is probably pretty simple and I don't think it should be too confusing for anybody, but I don't really know because students come from different levels of background. Maybe some of you have an extensive amount of playing around with computers. Maybe others of you not so much. So I'm going to make a little video of this so you can go and review it later if you want to see. All right, this video shows how to make a very simple HTML page, right? So I'm going to turn on my Sublime, and you can use Notepad or whatever you want to do it. They're all pretty good. Now, another thing we have to think about here is directories, right? We need to know a fair amount of knowledge about files and directories to work with web development, because HTML pages are files in the file system, and we have to know how to reference directories to get to images and things in our HTML development. So some students have already seen that, and other students haven't really seen it before. Well, one way or another, you need to learn about it. So I'm going to add here to our list of topics we'll be discussing. We're going to develop a knowledge of files and directories, how to create, delete, rename, and access, and all that stuff. And once again, if you're not sure, you think, well, geez, Peter, what do you mean by that? I'm confused. Not a problem. Just jump into the chat comments and say, Peter, I'm really not getting what you mean. Just talk about it more, and then we'll go more into it. But let me demonstrate what I mean first. So here's my text editor. So I'm going to say file, a save, because that's a new file, right? This is a new file. So I want to save it to the file system. So I'm going to say save as, and I'm going to put it in a certain directory. Why? Because if I don't put it in a directory, I won't be able to find it later. And one of our goals for our course, we're actually going to make an e-commerce website that can sell product. It's going to be driven by a database. The only thing we're not going to do is hook up the payment processor, because that gets to a fair amount of paperwork. They would do a credit check on you, and you would have to show business records, and it would be too much trouble. But I'll show you how to set up the payment processor like Stripe or PayPal, but we won't actually do it. But everything else we are going to do to make an e-commerce website like eBay. We're going to have a database, we're going to have HTML pages, and we're going to have forms, and a user can put product in their shopping basket, and then they can check out, and they could arrange to have the product delivered to them. That's complicated. And if you do not organize your work properly, by the time you're midway through the project, you're going to get frustrated because you don't know where any of your stuff is because you didn't keep track of it. So let's make a directory to keep track of our work. So I'm going to go to my C drive. Now, if I have any Macintosh users here, I can bring my Mac computer into the meeting and demonstrate. But in Mac, you would probably be putting it in your USR, your user directory. Here in Windows, we're going to put it on the C drive. I'm going to say new folder, and I'm going to call it Peanuts Web Store. Peanut being my dog. So he's going to be you guys can work on teams on the project, by the way. Me and Peanut are going to be a team. So that's going to be my directory where I'm going to store my stuff. And I'm going to call my file index.html. Why? Because conventionally, the first home page of your website is called index.html. If you want to call it something else, make yourself happy on that. Doesn't matter too much. Just call it something. And now see here, save as file type, because if you have a good programming editor, it's going to give you linting, which means you can save files by different types. If I had Notepad or just like some simple, text editor, it wouldn't let me do this. But here, Sublime is going to let me store it as HTML, and that's pretty good for a couple of factors. It'll give me color coding and IntelliSense autocomplete and a couple of other things. Now, is this a web file, an HTML file? No, because I don't have any tags. So to make it a web page, to make it, and I'm recording all of this, by the way, and I'm going to make the recording available at the end for a nominal fee of $19.95. So just, send me some money by PayPal and I'll send you the video. But this is going to be how we make it to an HTML file. So I open with HTML, and then I close. I always have to balance my tags and see, because I have a nice, smart editor here, it automatically guessed that's what I probably wanted to do. So it did auto completion for me. And now within the HTML tags, I can have two child nodes. So I can have head. See, once again, Sublime is going to auto complete it for me. And I can have body. And body is where you put the content part that you show to user. And head, we don't really use this too much anymore. I mean, you can put a title there. In the old days, they did things like Google SEO, search engine optimization, and you could put keywords and stuff there. But Google changed their algorithms, so that doesn't really do much for you anymore. So anyway, but one way or another, even if it doesn't do much, you still need it. Now here, let's say save. All right, so now I have a web page. See, I have it. There it is. But what do I do with it? What do I do with a web page? I'm going to make this to a class discussion. I'm going to jump out to the chat comments over here, and I'm going to say, what do you think I will do with my web page? Akbal, what do you think? What's your opinion? What are you going to do with it? Or AJ, or Darwinder Singh, or Ganeet Kaur, or pretty much anybody else? What do you think we should do with our web page? Come on, you guys are boring. You're making me bored. Gentlemen in the room, if any of you is hoping to get married, you better be a better conversationalist. I was listening to this thing the other day. When the ladies look at you, the number one thing they gauge you by is how interesting is it to listen to your talking. Oh, somebody is giving me an answer here. Make it attractive by adding images. Yup. You can add a background color. Yes. Those are all good things. I'm not going to say any of those things are wrong. However, there's a bigger thing I want first. I just want to view what I have now. View what I have now. So how am I going to view it in a web browser? So let's do that. In a web. Yeah, we're going to add pictures too. Yep. In a web browser. All right. So first of all, here's my page. And it is in a directory called Peanuts Web Store. So I can go and look at it in my Windows Explorer. So let's use Chrome. I'm going to strongly ask you to use Chrome web browser because it has Chromium debugger tools and has very many other nice things. So it's going to make it much easier for you if you use Chrome. So go and find your Chrome browser. If you don't have it downloaded, it's free. So here's our Chrome browser. Now, a couple of things I could do. You used to be able to do file open. They used to have a file here. And you used to be able to open it like you could a Word document. You can't do that anymore? Really? I like that feature. That was cool. Well, anyway, another way I can do it is by drag and drop from the file system. So there's Peanuts Web Store. There's index.html. Click and drag and let go. And there is my content. So I could open my file directly from the file system. I could do that. That is a really stupid way to do it, because most of the interesting stuff we get with HTML, JavaScript, and CSS happens when we go through a server. And to use PHP, in fact, we need to have a server. So the next thing we need to do is set up a HTTP server to view our web page for. And you're definitely going to need this for the project anyway. So let's go and note that in our class journal. So set up your Apache web server. Now I gave you a video and I put a notice in the Google Classroom asking you to do this, so I'm hoping you did it. If anybody did not do it now. If anybody needs help to do it, ask me and I will demonstrate. So set up your Apache XAMPP HTTP server to serve up your new page. Oh, I didn't ask you to set it up. I thought I did. Really? I was sure that I'd put a note here saying set up XAMPP. Oh, okay. Well, we'll do it now together. If I didn't do it before, just spend a couple of minutes doing it now. So here's how we do it. Now I'm still recording this, so I'll sell you the video later. Maybe $19 is too much money. I'll sell it to you for $15. $15 even, cash, no tax. So let's go to here, xampp.org. No. Ah. Oh, Apache Friends. That's the thing I was looking for. Yeah, so go to this URL, right? This URL. And download for your operating system. All right, so let's go and do that together. Then we'll take a break while it's downloading. It'll probably take several minutes to download. So go to Apache Friends, click on download. I'm going to download for Windows because that's what I'm using. If you want Mac or Linux, go and get it. Now we're getting the version with PHP. Oh, actually, we haven't gone over the course outline yet, have we? Yeah, because I just want to show you how to get a simple web page up and going first. So anyway, download XAMPP for Windows. So click and save. So save that. And let's go for a break. When we come back, we'll go over the course outline. Then we'll come back to this. We'll get our Apache server up and running. We'll continue our exercise of making our simple web page, and then we'll carry on from there. So it is now 12:55. Let's give it a break till 1:10. And once your download finishes, you can go and run it, right? Just click on it to open it and let it install. So I'll talk about this later. If you want to finish installing it, just accept everything. I'm going to wait till we come back from the break so I can talk you through this in detail. And I'm going to pause my video so we don't have a lot of now I know I have the main class recording because I record these classes in Zoom, but this video will be like a sort of a separate video just focused on getting your XAMPP up and running. I mean, you could watch either video. I guess they're both the same. I just like making videos, so that's the way I do that. Anyway, resume at, let's make it 1:15. All right, guys, we're going to be starting again in 2 minutes. All right, guys, it's 1:15. Let's get back to work. Now, where we left it off before the break was we were installing our local development web server, right? So we're using our class journal here to keep track of our stuff. So now I'm going to finish installing it myself. Maybe you guys have already done it. But here we have options on what to install. So we're going to want to choose Apache and MySQL, which is a database server, FTP server. If you don't know what that is, we'll get to that later. Mail server, well, we don't really need that, to be honest, but I'll leave it checked anyway. And Tomcat is if you're doing J2EE Java Enterprise Edition. Again, we don't need it, but I'll leave it checked. Now it's giving us PHP, which we do need because that's in our course outline. It's giving us Perl, which, to be honest, we're not going to use at all, so we'll uncheck that. It's another programming language that in the old days they used to use for web form processing for what they call CGI, or Common Gateway Interface. And here, programming languages, yeah, leave all that stuff checked. So you can keep your fake send mail there just for if you want to write a web form that can send mail. And Webalizer just gives you some performance metrics on your website. And we definitely do need PHP MyAdmin. So make sure you leave that checked and then go to next. Now it's saying, where do you want to install it? So I already have it installed. So I'm going to go and erase my previous directory so I can reinstall it just to demonstrate to you guys. Yeah, so XAMPP3 was a directory I made another time I was reinstalling it. I guess I can get rid of that. So I'll right click and say delete. Oh, actually, I'm going to turn my recording back on. Yeah, this is the recording I'm making of how we do this. Okay, I don't know why my tree size program kicked in. I'm not using that now. So let's go and do this again. I'm going to erase that directory. Is open another program. It is really? Well, I'm going to ignore it for right now. It doesn't really have anything to do with what I'm doing. Oh, I see. I think because I was running XAMPP control panel. Anyway. Anyway, while that's deleting, I'll also go and delete my XAMPP2, which I definitely don't need. That was another time of doing a class demonstration. I made that. And finally, my main one, which is XAMPP, I'm going to delete that too so I can reinstall. You don't need to do this stuff because you didn't have it before. I'm doing it to just keep my system cleaned up a little bit. All right, so now I'm going to go and delete this directory and reinstall to here. So right click, delete. And now I should be able to go back to my installer and just say next. And I'll install in English. So you're probably already finished because I was talking through what I was doing. But the goal at the end is we want to have XAMPP up and going on our computer so we can use it as a web server to serve up our web pages through. And once this is finished for me, I'll go back to that page I was making at the beginning and I'll serve it up and we'll add some stuff to it. Anyway, with this little bit of an introduction, now you at least sort of are starting to get a sense of what web development is. And then we can go and read through the course outline, and then we can actually work on starting to learn some PHP. While that's installing, you can go back to your Google Classroom. And I think I put some books there. I think I did that the other day. Let me check. You can download them, right? So, yeah. So PHP Essentials, that's a pretty good textbook. Download that. And there's some PowerPoints there we'll be studying. Programming PHP, that's another book on PHP. So I'd suggest you spend a couple of minutes while we're waiting to just go and pull those down so you have them handy. I'm just waiting for my XAMPP to finish. I'll be back with you in a couple seconds. I want to download this PDF, PHP Essentials. I don't think I have that locally. I have PHP Essentials. Programming PHP, that's the one I want. Hang on just a second, guys. Why am I not seeing programming PHP? All right, so I think by now my installation should be complete. Let's go and check. Yeah, it's finished. All right, good. So now that I've installed PHP, the next thing I do is open the XAMPP control panel. Now, in that case, it opened automatically. If for some reason it didn't, I could go to my start menu and just say open XAMPP. Right, so open your XAMPP control panel next. Let's write all this stuff down in your journal, because when we do a class lab or something, you're gonna have to do all of this by yourself. So let's make sure everybody is good on how to do this. All right, so set up your XAMPP. So we've done that. So now the next step after that is, once XAMPP is installed, open the XAMPP control panel. But before you start the server, make sure you properly configure your HTTPD configuration document. And I'm not going to describe in detail how to do this, because you can just watch the video and see how to do it. Right, so let's go to our directory where we installed this now, which in my case was C:\XAMPP. There it is. So now I have to go to Apache, conf, and I have to find my file. And I'm saying this slow because I need you to follow along with me, right? You're going to have lab activities in class starting next week, and you're going to have to know this stuff. So there's my httpd.conf document. So let's go and edit this. I'm going to edit it using Sublime. You can use any text editor that's comfortable for you. Now here I'm going to find the document root. Going to check back to the meeting to make sure I don't have any questions or comments coming in, because usually people are asking more questions by this point. So if nobody's asking questions, either that means I'm explaining it super well, or you guys aren't actually following along. But I know you are, so I must be explaining it super well, because I'm a really smart guy, I think. Right, so we go here and we look for our line which says document root. I think it's on line 74, I think. No? Okay, well, let's go and search for it. Oh, by the way, do you see there where it says listen 80? That means your server is listening on port 80. What that means is that port is a TCP/IP concept, and we'll be talking about networking later. For right now, just observe that's where your port is set. We probably won't need to change that. Well, I guess you might. We'll see how that goes. But let's go and look for document root. There it is on line 252, actually. So document root must now be changed to whatever is the directory you put your file in. Now I put mine in something called Peanuts Web Store. So whatever directory you put your file in, go and substitute that over now. See, Peanuts Web Store, that's my directory. So I'm going to copy that. I'm going to go over to my editor. Now here, I'm going to replace that entire line. Now notice how the divider between the volume and the directories is a /, whereas in Windows, they chose to make it a \. Now that is not going to work, so you need to fix that. You need to erase the / and replace it with a /, and you need to have that line in both document root and the directory directive. So copy and paste. And now oh, can I share my screen? I'm not sharing my screen. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. All right, I'll go and repeat the last couple of things I said. Sorry, I didn't know the screen sharing had turned off. Now I'm making my own local video as well, which does not go through Zoom, so you can go and watch that later. But I will go and repeat the last couple of things I just did. So my screen sharing for some reason turned off, but I've turned it back on now. All right, so now I'm going to go and repeat the last couple of things I said. So I have my Apache server up and running, right? I installed it. I did all of that. And then I installed my directory in a directory called C:\xamp. And then I go here. And so you guys, if you want to see this again later, this separate video, which I'm recording outside of Zoom, will have captured everything, because that's scraping it directly off my screen. That is not going through the Zoom recording. So anyway, I go here to Apache. And I go to conf, And there I have something called httpd.configuration. And I open that in a text editor. And then I look for document root. There it is. I could just do Control F and search for document root. I've also put that in your class journal, which you have the link to through Google Classroom. And now this part, that needs to be changed to whatever is the directory you put your own content in. Right? So now I go here and I put my stuff in Peanuts Web Store. Right? That was my directory that I used, Peanuts Web Store. But the only thing I need to be careful of now is Windows uses a backslash and everybody else in the world, programming languages, use a /. So I have to put that in there. And I have to replace the backslash with a /. And I have to replace it in both those lines. So now that I've done that, now I save my file. So after you do that, so after you make this change, save and close the file. And now start your Apache server. So the way we do that is as follows. We start Apache control panel over here. In Mac, it would be Control Spacebar XAMPP. Here in Windows, it's XAMPP control panel. And then you click on Start up here. You see the Start button beside Apache. You click. And now Apache got some yellow highlighting, but it tried to start for a second, but then it went away. It didn't work. Why? Because I'm trying to start on a certain port, which it says there's already, oh, Tomcat. Well, actually, I don't care about Tomcat right now. I think my Apache server is running because I have the option to stop it, and I think it's running on port 80. Can I check that? Yes, I can go to a web browser and type localhost. And I can just verify if my page is there. So I'm going to go here now to a web browser. I'm going to say localhost. That's a networking thing we'll talk about later. Colon port 8080. Why port 8080? Because I can see over here. Oh, actually, no, it should be just port 80. Last time I did this in another class, it was port 8080. Here it's just port 80. There it is. So go and fix that up if necessary. So now I'm going to press the Enter key. And now it's going to dashboard, which I don't really want. I want index.html. And for some reason, it's saying it can't find my file, which is odd. So now we have to go and work on this a little bit more. So let's go and do that. First of all, I can go back and double check that I actually saved my file. Sometimes I forget to do that. So document root is Peanuts Web Store. So I'm going to save and close this. I might have forgotten to save it. I think I did forget. And now I'm going to go and double check that the file I think is actually there. Yeah, there's index.html. So that's okay. Why is that file not showing? I've done everything correctly. All right, let's now I did maybe not save my file before. So I'm going to go back here to the XAMPP control panel. And I'm going to stop and restart my server, because whenever you make a change, you must stop and restart. So there I am running on port 80. So here I'm saying localhost, and I don't need to specify port 80 if it is port 80, because 80 is the default, but I'll specify it anyway. And my file is index.html. Oh yeah, so now it's working. So guys and ladies, do you understand? I think what happened before is I changed my document route, but I just did not save it. So this is now what I'm being served up as my index.html file. Is everybody getting this? Are they seeing this in their XAMPP? I want everybody to type in the chat comments, just say yes or no. And if it's not working, we'll try and help you, because if this is not working, then you're not going to be able to do any of the stuff that's coming later. So just type yes or no according to whether you can view your own file in your local Apache browser. And I'm going to stop the recording that I'm making now, because I'll make another recording next for making simple HTML. The purpose of this recording was to get our Apache server up and going, which it's now done. So I'm going to kick this out. So if you want to watch this again by yourself later to review the procedure, you're able to do that. Oh, you're still doing it. All right, I have an idea. First of all, I'm going to kick this video. It's a long video. It's 30 minutes, 45 minutes. It may take a couple of minutes. But anyway, I'm going to kick this out. It's probably going to take at least 5 minutes to upload or something. So when that's available, I'll post the link. Now, some students are saying they're still doing it. So I'm going to give you 10 minutes of lab time, right? This is not a break. Don't go away and have coffee now. I'll give you a coffee time later. But this is 10-minute lab time. I want everybody to work on doing this. So work on getting your web page to show in your XAMPP server. Do this now. And I'm going to be here, so if you have any questions, you can ask me, right? I'm not going to go away and take a break right now. I'm going to sit here, and if you need some help, let me know. but I'll give you until 1:55 to do this. So do it now. All right, guys, pay attention. Can everybody hear me? Palika, can you hear me? Hello, just type yes or no. Can you hear me? All right, I'm going to redo the whole thing exactly from the beginning. I'm going to erase everything. We're going to go right back to start, and we're going to do the whole thing again. So pay attention. And guys, I am going to open everybody's mic. Can I ask you to please mute yourself locally unless you want to talk? Because if I could leave the mic open, and if then there's some problem, you can talk to the mic and I'll hear you. But if I have to leave the mic muted because you're just sort of making noise in the background, we can't really do that. So let's try and help ourselves here. I'm going to have it so you can unmute your mic. So as soon as you don't understand something, let me know. All right, so this is what we're going to do. Here's going to be our procedure now. So step one, I'm going to erase everything and go back to beginning. Right, so erase everything, and then we'll start again. Now, let me check on something. Does anybody need to see how to install XAMPP? Does anybody not have XAMPP? Do I need to show that, or you already have it? You have it. Well, Sawita, you're not allowed to say that. You cannot say we have it because you don't know what's going on with other class members. All you can say is I have it. Is there anybody who does not have it? Anybody not have XAMPP going? You're getting an error. Ganit Core, what error are you getting? Oh, I see. Navneet doesn't have it. All right, I'm going to show it to everybody. Now, Ganit, what error are you getting? What's your error? Yeah. So I think I know what's happening with you. I think you're getting a port conflict. So just wait a few minutes and then I'll show you how to fix that. Probably you have a port conflict. We'll talk about how to fix that. So wait, we're going to fix it in a minute. All right, first of all, I'm going to go and put everything away. I'm just going to shut it all down. So I'm going to get rid, actually, I don't need to get rid of XAMPP since you guys, XAMPP is working okay for everybody. So let's go back to our class journal. Yeah, Navneet Singh, I'm going to do that right now. We're going to do that right now. So pay attention. And plus you have the video that I made before, which I'm going to upload. Plus you have some screenshots I'm going to make now. Plus we're going to add, now I could not capture screenshots before because I was making the video and it's the same software. So while the video was recording, I was not able to make screenshots, but I can do that now. Everything will be documented in your class journal. I'm going to put everything right here so it's one source of information for everything. Anybody with the link can view. Okay, good. So let's do it. So step one, use a text editor to create a text file with some HTML code. And store it in a certain directory. Is there anybody who has not done step one? Does everybody make a file with a little, doesn't have to be complicated HTML, but just with a little bit of something in it, and you stored it with a certain name and directory? Did anybody not do that yet? If anybody needs me to show them how to make a file, just say, show me how to make the file. Okay, I'm guessing everybody is okay because nobody has asked for that. So we all have a file. Okay, good. Now, step two, let's see how to view the file. In our XAMPP web browser. Let's see that. So let's do that now. So now we go to do this, right? To configure, to tell our XAMPP server where to find the file to serve. We must go to http d.conf file. So let's see where that is. So go to the directory where you installed XAMPP and look for Apache conf and look for this file, which is called httpd.configuration. So step one, go to directory where you installed XAMPP server. And step two, find the directory which is called conf. So that's step two. You have to find, you have to look, and you have to see where that directory is. And then in that directory, there's a file called httpd.conf. So in that directory, there's a file called httpd.conf. Now, in that file, there's a line. In that file, there's a special line. In this file, there's a line called document root. This line points to the directory in your file system, which holds your HTML file that you want XAMPP to serve up. So use a text editor to edit that file. And you have a video as well. I'm not going to make another video because it would be the same as the other one, but you have a video that shows you exactly how to do this also. Remember over here, this video, this shows you, it's a 43-minute video and it shows you all of this stuff. In fact, I can probably just lift a still. I was going to do it again, but I can just lift a still image directly out of this. See, so you have to find these lines and you have to change them. That's what we're saying now. Now, after you've changed these lines, then you start your XAMPP server. So let's drop this in your documentation now. Right, so this is all in the class journal, which you can go and look at whenever you want to see that. Sir, I have only HTTP file, not conf. I can find document root. Yeah, I suppose so. Ganit, are you using a Macintosh? Which is your operating system, Windows or Mac? Macintosh. Windows, yeah. So what I think is happening is the way that your File Explorer is setting up, it's not showing you the file extensions, which is fine. So if it's just called if it's just called HTTPD, that, yeah, that's fine. So go and change that. All right, so do that now. All right. So how far we've gotten now is we've done all of this stuff. And now you have to start your XAMPP server. So you do the following. You go to your Cortana start and you type XAMPP. So you do that and you start that. And then you click on the stop button if it's already running and you start it again. So this highlighting and the fact that this says stop, this tells you that your server is running. Now this over here, this tells you which ports your server is running on. And you probably don't know what a port is. We'll talk about that next week. Now, one of our students had a problem, right? They had a failure starting their computer because the port they were trying to run on was not available. But I'll get to that in a little while. Let's let everybody catch up to where we are now. It's not starting Comalpreet. I am not getting any errors. Do we need to save? All right, so besides Comalpreet, who else is getting errors trying to start? So Comalpreet is getting errors. Is anybody else getting any errors? No? Well, nobody is saying anything. So I guess the answer is just Comalpreet. All right, Comalpreet, we're going to help you. But first of all, let's take a break. It is 2:15. And let me just double check the schedule to see what's going on here. Oh, I see. So Avtar Singh, you're getting errors as well. All right, so we're going to help, but that's good. Most people are not getting errors, so that's pretty good. All right, so we're going to go and help you two guys in a minute. Just want to double check. Today our class is going to 4 o'clock. Well, we'll end at 3:45. Yeah, we've got about another 90 minutes, right? So 2:15, 3:45. We'll end maybe 15 minutes early. Let's take a little break now. So now it is 2:15. Let's take a break till 2:35, a 20-minute break, and then we will see about this thing with errors. So on break, resume at 2:35.
whatever you think of the royal family or the institution of the monarchy, the Queen represented something far greater than herself, the bedrock of a country, an unmovable, stoic, 70-year constant in a rapidly changing and increasingly insane world. A patron of hundreds of charities, a beloved icon who represented her nation almost right up until the very day of her death. But of course, none of that stopped idiots flaunting their obnoxious loathing all over social media. Mr. America deserved 9/11. Hassan Piker led the charge. Surely working class Brits genuinely upset at the death of their head of state bitches. What, like when you cried on the street when Sam Hyde called you out? I'm mentally ill. Your own followers never for bringing up the topic. Oh yeah, you can make jokes about the Queen dying and celebrate it. The Queen is dead. When Sam Hyde makes jokes about you, it's some kind of serious, ominous, violent threat. It's okay with me, do it? Cool, blimey, it's hot down here. Yeah.
So a subscriber of mine emailed this to me once, and I thought I would share this with you guys. Let you guys know about his story. Hey man, I really like your videos, you know. I've been watching them for a while. I took the red pill a while ago. You know, watching your MGTOW videos, I found my
All right, guys, it's 2:35. Let's get back to work. Now, a few people are still having problems with getting their server started. They're having some errors, and I will tell you how to fix those errors. So let's pay attention to this now. So how to deal with or how to fix error when starting server. Now, there's two kinds of situations I've seen which can cause this, and I guess it's possible you guys, somebody might encounter a different error, but I will tell you the two most likely errors. Number one, you could be pointing to a directory which does not exist. So maybe your document route, you could be pointing document route to a directory which is not there. Maybe you spelt it wrong or something. And the other possibility now is the port, you see, so your server, and we said we had to learn some basic networking to make our careers as web application developers work. So we're going to learn that now. Now, I'm not going to talk about TCP/IP networking today. I will talk about it in a future class. But for right now, we have enough other things to do here on our first day of class. But very briefly, things work like this. Network applications like the internet and like email work by exchanging what are called TCP packets, transmission control protocol packets. And those packets have a certain address, and part of the address is something called a port. Right? If you don't totally understand that, you don't need to right now, you will later on. But for right now, your web server is listening on a specified port, which is in conflict with some other application in your operating system. So, was it Balpin? Oh, Kamalpreet. So Kamalpreet, I think you were one of the ones who said you had some error with trying to get things up and going. So let's try and get you fixed now. So here's how you fix the situation with port. So go to HTTPD, your configuration document, and change the port number to another port. I will demonstrate how to do that now. Pay attention. In fact, I'll make another video. How about that? Oh, somebody was asking me during the break, how can they get the video that I made before? I'm going to make my videos for sale for $15. So just use PayPal to send me $15 and I'll send you a link for the video. All right, so we need to go to our configuration document. So let's do that. So there it is. Oh, I have a chat comment coming in. Can we make installments of, yeah, that's not a problem. You can pay on the payment plan. Sure, you can pay a little bit each month. That's not a problem. I can do that to help you out. So anyway, let's get this done now. So there is our configuration document. So let's go and get our favorite text editor and work on it. So once again, I'll open Sublime. And I'll open my file in Sublime. And now I want to look for port, right? So now I look for port. So now you guys who are having a error starting, I'm guessing that there is something else running on your port 80 in this case, right? So maybe another application, like maybe you installed Oracle database server or something, right? Maybe another application is registered in your operating system to listen, to monitor this port 80 in this case. So you have two ways to fix this. You could go and change the port in that other application. That would work. You could do it, but it would actually probably be simpler to just change the port here. It's not showing any port, Komalpreet. Seriously. Well, you could always just add one in, I guess. In that case, so you don't have something that says listen and then a port number. Just search through your configuration document for listen. You don't have anything at all that says listen. Do you type yes or no? Because I'm not sure what you have. So you found it. Okay, good. So now just change the port to something else, like maybe port 8080 or port 8082, right? There's a bunch of things. Just look for another number. Try changing it to port 8082, usually $50 or for my video. If you want my videos, pay me $50. I'll send them to you. No. Sorry, Komalpreet. For some reason, that went directly to you. I meant to send that to everybody. No, Ganeet, learn to take a joke. Jesus, you guys are too serious. No, I don't charge you for the videos. I'm giving to you for free. They're all good. They're free now and always. Like, you guys have no sense of humor. You're scaring me. All right, can we get back to work now, please? So, Komalpreet, try changing your, and anybody else who was having a problem getting it up and going, try changing it to something that looks like this. Now, once I've changed it, what do I need to do? I need to save, right? So save. Actually, I sort of regret saying that. If they were willing to pay me for my videos, maybe I should have just taken the money. It's too late. I've already told them that it's free, but maybe I should have just, negotiated the price a little bit. Anyway, I'll know for next time. So change the line as necessary to another port and then save. And restart your server. So I'm going to do that now. So I'll go here and say save. All right, save. And now I'll go to XAMPP control panel. Well, we'll talk about it later. Maybe I'll give you a bulk discount price. We'll talk about it later. But anyway, let's get this finished now. So now I'm going to stop my server. Now look right here. Do you see? Do you see that? I'm going to show you something important. Pay attention. So now it says port 80. It also says port 443. That has to do with something called SSL. We're not even going to talk about that. Maybe later on we will, but I'm not going to talk about secure sockets layer because we have enough other things to talk about. For right now, let's just pay attention to this first number, which is port 80. So now I'm going to stop my server and restart it. And what do I expect? I expect the port to now say port 8082. Why? Because that's what I changed it to. So let's start our server again. So stop and start. And now you see I'm running here on port 8082. So now if I go to a browser, I can say localhost. Port 8082. And now it's working. So Cobalpreet, is it working for you now that you did this? No. What error message? Guys, I switch over to another mic because the battery on my other headset was empty. I think that's why you couldn't hear me. Can you hear me now? You can. All right, very good. Yeah, I'm going to go over to my other mic. Now, this mic does not have a headset, so if you talk, I have to get my earphones and plug them in to hear me. So if you want me to listen to your talking, let me know in the chat comment. But otherwise, for right now, I'll use the Yeti. Now, where we were saying before here is Kamalpreet was having a problem. So Kamal, what happens when you start just Apache? Don't try to start MySQL. What happens then? Does it work? Kamalpreet, come on. Everybody is waiting for you. Can you just answer the question? Does it work when you just start Apache? Yeah, sure. Hang on. So Kamal, your Apache is working, right? What you need is the Apache server, the top one. Actually, it's not working, so we're not seeing any ports. Hang on here. Apache not found. Disabling Apache buttons. Oh, I see. Yeah. So Apache is not found. Kamalpreet, you did not properly install XAMPP. So what you need to do now is install it again. Just erase it, deinstall it, and install it again. Just reinstall it. Because it's saying that you don't have Apache, right? Apache is not found. So you need to go and reinstall it. Now, that's very common, actually, when you're learning a new thing for the first time. Like the first time when I install a new software, I need to install it like 10 times or something before I get it to work the right way. So that's pretty common. So in that case, just deinstall. Oh, I'll share my screen again. Hang on. So deinstall and reinstall. And one way you can deinstall, you probably already know this, but I'll show you anyway. So in Windows, you go to Programs and Features, say Add Remove Programs, and then you just find XAMPP. And then you say, I'm not going to do it because I need to move ahead. But basically you say uninstall, right? Uninstall. And then you let it just get finished. And then you go back to XAMPP. Make sure you get the latest, right? The proper one for your OS, and just reinstall it. So do that and let us know how it worked. All right, so everybody else now, is everybody else able to view the web page we made in your Apache browser? I guess so. If anybody is not, let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to assume the answer is yes, and we can move on. All right, so here's our next activity now. So another thing I'll say here, if there are still problems, deinstall XAMPP and reinstall it. All right, next activity. So class activity, view your web page in your Apache server and make changes to it and add HTML to it. So we're going to do that now. All right, so I'm going to make some demonstration now. If anybody has any questions or you're not sure how to follow along, whoops, I've been recording all of this up till now. Okay, so I'm going to end this recording and upload it. And yes, it will be free of charge, no cost, Sweeta. And if you need to see any of the things. Now, we have one big recording for the entire Zoom session, but I don't know, these little recordings might be easier to focus in on specific things. I don't know if it helps you, it's there, you can use it. Right, so go back to your HTML file. And now let's add some HTML elements to this. Our ultimate goal is to get PHP working in this page. We can do this using Apache XAMPP server because Apache has support for PHP. I will now show you how PHP works. And this is why we needed to use a server, right? If we just wanted to write simple HTML, we actually would not need a server. We could just open our HTML files locally from the file system. But to get cool stuff going, such as forms and other stuff like that, and database interactions, you do need to go through a server. Right? Let's go back and take another quick look at our Apache configuration document. So join me and go back to the directory where you installed this stuff. So if anybody wants the second video, which is the one where we did more work with the Apache server, if you want it, it's here. I'll put the link in our class journal as well. And then we're going to go on now and start to look at PHP. Okay, good. So now let's go back here to our Apache configuration document, because there's something else important there that I need to show you about. Modules, that's what I was looking for. So if you join me and look in the modules directory, you're going to see that there are modules here for PHP. Now, what's the importance of that? Because at some point in the past, some smart people, where are the PHP modules? Anyway, there is statically linked, there is something called modules here, which works with Apache server and which gives it the ability to parse PHP, right? We haven't talked about what PHP is yet. We're going to get to that next, but I wanted to make sure that everybody, because PHP lives within web pages, right? It doesn't have any meaning outside of web pages. So therefore, I wanted everybody to have a little bit of a basic sense of it. So when we talked about it, you'd understand what we're talking about. Anyway, I'll find it for next week, but somewhere here is, you see SO means static object. It means it's a C programming language file. And somebody wrote some SO static object modules, which lets the Apache server look at PHP files and figure out what to do with them. And it's, you know, it's not really part of the course outline, but it is kind of intellectually satisfying to understand how things work. And I will dig that out. I remember showing this to the class last term. For some reason, I'm not finding where it is right now. So we'll come back and find that later. But where we are now is at the point where we can make our HTML file and we can view it on our server. So we can now start practicing HTML, JavaScript, CSS, and of course, the most important thing is PHP. So let's take a couple of minutes now. Let's go through the course outline and the evaluation timetable. because that's something we should do on the first day of class. In fact, that's usually something we do at the beginning, except since this is a lab course, I wanted to make sure everybody is comfortable with being able to use the lab tools. So now let's look at the course outline and look at your evaluation timetable to see what your tests and assignments will look like. So all this stuff is in the Moodle, is in the Google Classroom page, and you're responsible for keeping up to date with the test dates, right? I don't want anybody to get surprised one day when I tell them there's a test, you say, oh, nobody told me. Well, you're adults, you're supposed to keep up with the schedule by yourself. All right, so let's go and find it. All right, guys, so there's our Google Classroom, and hopefully you have had a chance to look at this and you're paying attention to the stuff I'm putting there because it's all very important stuff. We have a lot to cover in this course, and you have to read the announcements I post up there so you can keep up to date with what's going on. Anyway, let's go and look at the course outline first. Well, actually, here's a document called Academic Weeks. So if there's ever anything, you know, it says like it's week 7 or something, and you want to know what the date for week 7 is, you can go here and check that. So make sure you keep that handy. And now let's look at our course outline. So this course provides hands-on introduction to web application development. You are going to design and implement a series of projects that will teach you how to make web pages that flow information from databases and can interact with users through forms. Sample projects include social media, e-commerce, and content management systems. You're going to gain experience with web scripting languages and enable database-driven content. Actually, the only languages you're going to be learning here will be PHP and sorry, something just made a noise and distracted my attention. Hang on. Better turn that phone off. It's bothering me. Yeah. Sorry, guys. I'm just going to put my phone on Do Not Disturb. It's irritating when it goes off like that. Yeah. So what we were saying is the languages we will work on here are going to be JavaScript and PHP. We won't do any Java Enterprise Edition, servlets or EJBs or anything. That would be an entire 14-week course by itself. But if you pay attention, you will learn very many interesting things here. Right, so we're going to learn to construct web applications using Model View Controller, create server-side programs in PHP, apply core PHP language, analyze sections of code within a Model View Controller web application. We're going to access and use data sent to the web server by HTML forms, integrate MySQL databases into web applications with PHP, maintain the application using PHP sessions and cookies, and document our programs using good documentation techniques. So in terms of your tests and assignments, let's take a look at the dates for that. So the best way to see that is to go to your teaching plan Right, so here's our weekly learning plan. Week 1, which was this week, introduction to programming for the web. So we learned how to set up Apache server. We learned how to create a simple HTML file. And we probably have another couple of minutes before we're done. We'll learn how to put a little bit of JavaScript and CSS into our HTML. Week 2, constructing web pages with CSS, JavaScript, and HTML. Week 3, hosting web pages on services. Introduce some basic networking concepts. Week 4, understand how to develop applications using Model View Controller. Week 5, you will have a quiz worth 10%. And week 5 will be October 9th. Week 6, focusing on the PHP language. Week 7 will be a final exam worth 20%. Week 8 will work on connecting PHP to the database. Week 9, more skills involving SQL and database. Week 10 will have quiz 2 worth 10%. Week 11, connecting PHP to web APIs. Learning how to do things like payment processors. Week 12, session management. Week 13, finish working on the project. And the project will be due, oh, actually, I have to go and add this in here. But the project is going to be due week 13, and then the final exam will be week 14. So I'm going to go and add that in. I'm going to now give you some details about your project. And you've got a couple of assignments as well. So you have assignments 1 and 2. Actually, I have to go and update this. This does not mention the assignments. So let's go and fix this up together now so we have this thing taken care of. Let's go and update a couple of things that are missing here with our remaining few minutes of class. All right, so they did mention quizzes 1 and 2. They did not mention the assignments. Oh, actually, yes, they did. So assignment 2 is due on week 10, so that is there. And assignment 1 is due on week 5. Okay, very good. And then the projects are, so the project is due on week 13. Which is 20%. All right, so we have 2 quizzes, 2 assignments, project presentation, midterm exam. And okay, so we have everything here. So in this course, students will work in teams of up to 4 members to construct a 3-tier model view controller web application to provide the functionalities of a web commerce store. So customers will select product. So users of the website will select product from a catalog, from a database catalog. And put it in the shopping basket. Then check out and pay for items. All right, so anyway, if anybody has any questions about that, you can send me an email or something. We're going to be working on little bits of the project pretty much every week through class, right? The assignments will build up to the project, and we'll get it done mostly in class. So I think that should be pretty okay. All right, let's go and update your Google Classroom with that. All right, I don't see any questions or comments right now. We have about another 20 minutes roughly, right till 3:45. So let's extend our HTML knowledge a little bit. Let's practice some HTML. So if we go here to our text editor, and a good reference if you need to amp up your HTML, a good reference is W3 Schools, right? So as you're working on the project or the assignments, and you need to sort of review some HTML formulations, that's a good place to look. Okay, guys, I'm going to issue some independent lab time for the last couple of minutes of class, the last 15 minutes. So lab time now, work by yourself. So referring to W3 Schools tutorial, work on your web page to add images, tables, and some other HTML features. Next week, we're going to start pouring some PHP into it and see how we can make a database, pull information from the database, and display it on the page. All right, so I'm just going to demonstrate some simple HTML stuff here to get you started, and then we'll carry on next week. So going back to your editor. Let's say I wanted to put a simple image in here. I would use the image tag, right? So I say IMG, and I have to specify the source of the image. And the image could be either on a remote resource, like on a network accessible resource, or it could be on my local file system. And I always have to close and balance my tags. So let's go and get some simple image somewhere to practice demonstrating it here. Next week, we're going to see how we can use JavaScript to change the image. If we like mouse over something, for example, you can change the contents of the image. For right now, I'm just going to go to Google Images and get a picture of a cat or something. And I'm going to save that on my local hard drive. So now if I go and reference that file over here and say cat.png, that should work, right? So let's go and reload the page and see if we're seeing a picture of a cat. Actually, I think I changed my port when I was demonstrating how to fix the problem. I think I went to another port. So let's go and check that. Yeah, I'm running on port 8082. So up here, I have to put 8082. And there's the picture of the cat. Of course, that picture is a little bit too big, so I could use some other attributes on my HTML tag to scale it down. For example, I could say width equals 200. Yeah. All right, guys, I'm going to end up the class now. I know it's a bit early. Usually we go till 3:45, 3:50, but it was a pretty demanding class with getting our Apache server up and going. So what I want you to do with the remaining 15 minutes of class time is add some additional HTML content. Look at the W3 Schools tutorial. And see if you can add div section and table to your HTML page. We're going to need those for next week. So rather than me talking and showing it to you, just try and figure it out by yourself. I think we've had enough lab time today. You should be able to do that. And now we're going to wrap up the class and we'll see you next week. So spend 10 to 15 minutes by yourself working on this, and then class will be dismissed. I'm going to wrap up the formal class now. Email me if you have questions. Bye. Have a nice week.